get lower than him to be able to clean him out.
Okay, once again, how do we get nice and low?
Bend our knees.
Bend our knees, and I'll repeat myself, we don't bend at the hips, we bend at our knees. Okay, let's have a look at that. We bend our knees. What does that look like? Good, very good. We've got this man over the ball. Now, what do we want you to do once you've bent your knees, you're in that nice strong position? What do we do next?
Drive straight through.
Yeah, and what's the space we're looking to own?
Underneath his shoulders.
Yes, again, a repeat of what we did in part one, own the space underneath his chest and over the ball. And if we just see that in slow motion, there it is again. Just a simple repeat of part one. Okay, now we're going to look at part one and part two coming in and making it a whole. So key things to look for, coming through the gate from the players, both sides, good long body positions, low body positions I should say, making sure we've got our eyes looking over those sunglasses so our head's up, and then owning that space over the ball and underneath the opposition. So we're looking at from it now, so in comes our first support player. In comes our second support player. Good, very good. Now we'll just do it once more and we'll quicken it up a little. Go. Very good, boys. Now this time we'll do it once more, but we'll have support player 1 and 2 from a defending side coming a lot quicker, so they're both arriving at the tackle just about simultaneously. So let's have a wee look at that and see how we can be effective in taking that clean out. You may not have picked it up on the video, but the young men coming in that time identified their threats. They said, I'm 1, I'm 2. So straight away we've got clarity of who's doing what, who's taking out the threat, the first threat, who's taking out the second threat. So excellent, boys, well done. Okay, we've looked at part 1 and part 2 of that post-tackle area. Clearly, you as a coach will decide how many people you want to send to the breakdown. Might be 3, it might be 4, it might be 5. But the simple facts of the matter is the roles don't change. The more people you send, they're exactly the same. You want people to be looking for threats, identifying them with their eyes up rather than ball watching. You want them to make those decisions about 6 metres or 7 metres out from the tackle. You want them to bend at the knees so their body height's nice and low. You want them to be looking over the sunglasses so they've got a good line of sight. You want to own the space over the ball and under the opposition. So when that looks right, your player will have his back underneath the chest of the opposition, and then we want leg drive to clean it out. Support player looks after the ball carrier, support player 2 looks after 1, 3 looks after 2. Key thing there, guys and girls, is the fact that we need to have depth so we can make good decisions because we've got time and space. Now I want to look at a couple of areas that are proving to be difficult and we're getting the odd injury from, and that's when we get a player who's there very early, gets well over the ball, and how do we look after him? And then conversely, if they've got this player in there in a very strong position, how do we actually remove him without causing any injury and doing it legally? Okay, in this scenario, we're post-tackle. We haven't had a very good ball placement by the ball carrier. Our defender's had time to get in on the ball, and he's got in a position where we need for him obviously to be able to attack the ball, but at the same time be safe. What we're looking for is a nice low body position, a nice solid base. Some people like to see that base square. Some people like to see it like this. I think it really depends on the player and the type of athlete he is. So how he's comfortable. In this case, our player has stepped over, but the variation on that is him coming back and having his foot, you lift your foot up and come back to me and bending and being really strong there in this case here, making sure that he knows he's going to get contact. So he's bracing himself for that physical impact. He understands his role. He's got himself in a nice strong position. where he's nice and safe. So just to summarise, I'm not too worried how his stance is, as long as he's got a good wide solid base, whether it's foot forward or parallel. I am concerned about his ability to be nice and low, nice and strong, and have his neck sort of turtle back into his shoulders so it's not exposed, so he can't get chopped on the back of the neck. What I want to see is that head squeeze right in. He's got strong arms over the ball, he's supporting his own weight, and he's going to be okay. Okay, in this scenario, our tackle's been made and our ball carrier's been able to get a long ball placement. So our defender has to make a decision. Clearly, if he looks to go for the ball with both feet on this side of the body, he's going to unbalance himself. He's going to be very, very easily knocked off his feet. He's going to be vulnerable because his head's going to be lower than his hips. We don't want that. So the decision we need him to make is what?
Step over the ball.
Okay, good answer. He's going to step over the body and go towards the ball. And again, we're looking for that nice, strong position. In this case, he hasn't got the option to be parallel. He has to have that stride. And the key thing here is that if his legs are too narrow, he's going to be vulnerable to being knocked around. So if he can just bring this, widen the stance a wee bit, he's going to be stronger and he's going to be able to take a knock or two. Again, same thing with his, we want him to turtle that neck in, keep himself nice and safe, and clearly, as a ball thief, he knows he's going to get contact. Okay, now we want to look at how we remove this player that's over the ball in that good, strong body position without causing any injury, because what we're seeing currently is players coming in and grabbing hold of our non-ball carrier by the neck and removing him in quite a violent way, which could end up causing a serious injury. Obviously, we don't want that. So if we have a look at some legal ways of doing it, again, using the principles we talked about before, owning the space above the ball, below the defender. So what we want to do is attack a joint, which is an elbow, because he's got no power in that elbow, or in that knee joint where he's got no power at all. We want to leave his head alone, over the ball, under him, through that area there. And we'll just demonstrate that for you at slow motion. To do that effectively, sometimes we can't come in there at 100 miles an hour. You know, a lot of the times we see players coming in too fast into that breakdown area, losing their technique. It might mean that you've got to slow down because this guy's actually done a good job. He's got in there and he's done his job. Another wee tip that we can use is as we come through the gate, we come with a little bit of depth through that gate, we subtly change our angle. So we've got a different view. We're not coming head on, we're actually coming a little bit from the side. So we just demonstrate that as you come through that gate. Just give yourself a little bit of angle so you can attack and drive him through. And again, so we've come through the gate, but what we've done is just give ourselves a little bit of angle to work with so we can see more of this player. Rather than just the front on, a narrow bit, we can actually see through his shoulder, through to his opposite hip. Nice. We exaggerated it a little bit, but that's what we're looking for. Give ourselves just a little bit of angle. Come through the gate, but then just get a little bit of angle. Now, to be able to do that, you've got to come with depth. You've got to come in from behind the ball. So you can't come from side door, otherwise we're going to give away a penalty. That's a nice, easy, effective, and safe way to remove that player. There's one thing to remember, coaches. The principles we've talked about today, low body height, owning the space above the ball and under the opposition, applies to both teams with or without the ball. Okay, so if you're coaching the breakdown from a defending point of view, just implement the same principles we've talked about from an attacking point of view. One of the things we really desperately would like to see out of our game is a cheap shot. At the breakdown, we see it a lot. And I just want to demonstrate what we're talking about. Player goes over the ball, clean out guy comes, no arms, just has a cheap shot at our player's ribs. Coaches, players, if you're looking at this, ask yourself, is this what we want in our game? We risk injuring our player through a rib injury. We also risk this player being suspended. So have a wee think about it. The game's bigger than that. We as coaches and players are bigger than that. Let's do it right. You've seen some stuff today that you can go away and use, make your players feel safer, make your players feel better with their techniques, and clearly, obviously, because of that, they'll enjoy their game a lot more.
Soft tissue injuries are the most common injuries I get in rugby. So what are they? Soft tissue injury is damage of the soft tissue of the body. These types of injuries are a major source of pain and disability. These are mainly the sprains, strains, tears and bruises that affect ligaments and muscles. As a coach, you can help me recover quicker from these injuries if you follow the 5-step process for treating them. Remember that. It's RICED. R-I-C-E-D. Rest. Staying off the injury is vital for healing and ensuring no further damage is done. So don't let me play on when it's obvious that I'm only going to make things worse. Make me sit down and get some ice. Ice, compression and elevation all reduce swelling and internal bleeding. So make sure you have ice available at training and on game day so that you can treat our injuries nice and early. And remember, the sooner the better. I need to keep ice on the injury for 20 minutes and then repeat this every 2 hours for the first 48 hours. And in between, I need to keep a compression bandage on it and keep it elevated as this reduces swelling. Sometimes I need to